So we talk about the Houston Texans a ton and how young and talented their roster is. You can make the case that the Green Bay Packers with newly signed quarterback Jordan Love is as young and as talented as Houston is. And Houston's the belle of the AFC, but they are so diverse on the outside. Their offensive line is very much so a strength. They've got good young pieces on their defense. New defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley is going to be way more aggressive. But these young receivers and Jordan Love developing together is the storyline in Green Bay.
Here's Jordan Love from earlier today.
I mean, just this place alone, being the Green Bay Packers quarterback and all the great QB play that's been here for the, however long it's been. But there's definitely a responsibility and, a certain play style and, a certain leadership style that you got to have to be here. But it feels good. I mean, it definitely just goes to show, the Packers putting their trust and their faith in me for the next 4 years. And it's something that I'm focused on earning every day and going out and put my best foot forward for them, for the team, for the organization, and everybody. And like I said, chasing that goal of winning a Super Bowl.
Certainly when these quarterbacks, any player, makes all this money, there is more pressure. It's no secret that we saw Jordan Love with that great QBR toward the latter part of the season last year, and he certainly, in my eyes, proved why he's deserving of a lot of this money and this attention. But, Dan, there are probably still some things about his game, because he does have a relatively small sample size in the NFL that you want to see changed. What should he improve as he heads into next year?
I still think there's growth mechanically. Jordan coming out of school, it was this guy's made more wow throws and plays than any kid in the draft. And then his first couple years, we didn't get to see him a ton. In the first half of that season from last year, there were still flaws mechanically. He still stood straight up with his legs in his lower half too much. His feet came together way too consistently, and so that affected his accuracy. And I think the credit goes to him and the Green Bay Packers that they stayed true to trying to continue in the midst of the season, pushing that development and that mechanical improvement. And then all of a sudden, it clicked. And then he wasn't thinking about it anymore, and the play just followed. And then when he wasn't thinking about it, the natural instincts kicked back in because he was mechanically sound. So I still think there's mechanical improvement. We talked about this before. He's an inexperienced player. He's not young.
Right.
He's not. This isn't a second-year NFL pro. It's a fifth-year NFL pro that just happens to be in his second year as a starting quarterback. So still improvement, but he's such a young and talented player. I have no question that that's going to continue to happen.
What's so cool about this situation is they obviously feel as though there's nothing we can't fix with this guy.
Right.
Look at the money. Look, we're good. We understand what kind of what kind of trajectory you're on. What's interesting about this, Dan, when you're talking about improvement, just objectively speaking, and then when you watch the tape, it kind of shows up. His decision-making outside the pocket, as athletic as he is, it wasn't as good as he was in the pocket. He looks just about as calm and poised and methodical in the pocket as a guy who's been playing a lot more than one full season as a starter. It's when he got outside of structure that things started to go a little bit haywire for him. But, man, the simultaneous growth of Luke Musgrave at tight end, Tucker Kraft at wide receiver, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, all these guys, what it's like when you go to college and all the guys in your class, you just feel like a natural bond to. You're like, hey, we're going to take this thing.
We're going to elevate it.
They have developed the exact same thing in the pros with these dudes. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
This might be the most talented young roster in the National Football League.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Might be the most talented young roster in the NFL. And it's amazing how far it has come, how quickly. Because if we go back to May of last year, the Green Bay Packers did not pick up the fifth-year option on Jordan Love's contract. Yeah. And now, some 14 months later, he signs a contract that will pay him on average $55 million a year. And they're not paying any wide receivers big money on their roster. They're not paying tight ends on their roster big money.
It's a good window.
They have a real window here to do something with all the great young talent on this roster.
You know what I found interesting hearing him talk right before we came on? He said I've learned that there's a responsibility in playing style and leadership style. And I think we kind of take the quarterback position so often, and we only talk about it when it comes to the performance, the results. And Green Bay has 30-plus years of the quarterbacks playing at a certain level on a consistent basis. So not only that time sitting behind Aaron developed him as a player, literally on the field, but developed his style of play, developed that leadership style on a daily basis.
Can I just finish it up with one defensive player mention?
Yeah. I know. We haven't talked about Jeff Hafley, the new
I just want
defensive
to say,
coordinator.
you mentioned Jeff Hafley,
Yeah.
right? Just remember this name, folks. Edgerrin Cooper.
Love it.
Linebacker.
Second round pick from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
He's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, that dude's a beast.
Think Fred Warner. I'm just saying.
I'm
just
glad
going to
you
leave it
got
there.
that in.
Edgerrin Cooper, remember the name.
Now-
He's a freak show.
One of the reasons why Jordan Love probably got paid at this level is because of the way that he knocked the Cowboys out in the playoffs.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that and then ending the clip. Okay, so obviously you guys know at this point I'm very high on the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love. I've been making a lot of videos about them recently, obviously, of course, with Jordan Love signing that contract, so they're in the media a lot. But I haven't really seen Orlovsky talk about this recently, and I love his views. I know people always want to try to pull him down because he wasn't like, a Tom Brady level in the NFL, and that somehow means that he doesn't know what he's talking about, which is just comically absurd to me. In fact, usually the guys who are not at the level of Tom Brady know more, because in order for them to exist in the NFL, they have to really understand everything more so than the people who are just athletic freaks. Not saying Tom Brady's an athletic freak. But anyway, so the reality is that with Jordan Love and the Packers, and the way I look at it, and just this young team, is they have been able to construct something and really expedite this process for in a few different ways. First and foremost is I look at it as they have an established head coach who is young. He's on the younger side. And so now that allows him to also connect with this locker room in a younger side. It really is, because they talk about how this team, how they're all kind of coming together, right? They're all young and they're all coming together and they're trying to accomplish this, their goals together. And it's kind of like a high school team following each other through and then into college and whatnot. That's all true. But now they have that coach who has now had some success with like Aaron Rodgers and even the Packers, but is not speaking also from this full mountaintop of like, I'm already accomplished. Like Matt LaFleur is still proving himself to the NFL. He's proved himself to me, right? Like I don't need to be sold on LaFleur. I'm super high on LaFleur, but still within that locker room, he still now kind of gets to be this bridge between we're going to do this together rather than like, I'm all the way up here, just follow my directions. It's like, it just becomes a little bit more collaborative, which I think has the potential to lead to a more connected locker room. But the benefit is that sometimes we have those certain circumstances, but it's with a quarterback or with a team, with a coach that hasn't had success yet. So he has to really prove himself also to that locker room, right? When you get a new young coach in the building, whether it be a Sirianni, whether it be trying to think of any more recent coaches, kind of a McVay before Matthew Stafford. It's like, I have to show to everyone now, he doesn't have to do that in that locker room. Like, he is that guy to that team, right? For the most of them, for a lot of them, it's he's all they know. So I just really think that when you're dealing with a young team, that connection matters. It matters tremendously. And I think that's kind of helping facilitate this process, because it's building a tremendous amount of trust. And not to mention, LaFleur has made his mistakes in the past, right? Like all coaches do. But he's been at an incredibly high level with Aaron Rodgers, legitimately competing, having 13 win seasons, if I'm not mistaken. And being just there. And he's made his mistakes in the biggest moments, which again, understandably so. And now, because of that, though, he has the experience. He's been there. It's not new. It's not a deer in headlights. And that's what you kind of have. Because even to go back to Sean McVay admitted that, in one way or the other, that the moment was kind of too big for him in the Super Bowl his first year. That he outcoached himself, that he overthought everything. And again, it's understandable, because just like players, young coaches, they need to learn. They need to grow. Matt LaFleur has already done that. So it can be difficult when you have a young coach with a more mature, ready-to-win team, because the coach is still your leader, and sometimes you can't get past that. Other times, you have a young coach with a young team, And it's like, well, now there's just too much youth around. It's like, now how can you be prepared? Better believe if Matt LaFleur was 5 years younger or 5 years newer in the league, I don't know if they demolish the Cowboys in that playoff game. I think Matt LaFleur's preparation and game plan really set them up. And just the fact that he could say, I've been here before. I got this. Let's go. You know, and I think that really goes a tremendously long way. So that it can't be understated that just the actual experience connected to him being on the younger side, he's able to now really lead the Packers team in a way that I think a lot of coaches would not be able to do. Especially because he's done this as a head coach and not just say like a coordinator, like maybe a Shanahan or a Shane Steichen when they both went to their respective teams. But now the next level of this is kind of continuation of that, but just now more centered on this team. This is an incredibly young team, but boy, did they have some success early on, because there's definitely a scenario where you could have a great team like this and they're young, but they don't really make it to the playoffs just because of the way how the games unfold in the division, or, you know, maybe Jordan Love and the Packers don't connect. They connect 2 games too late and now they don't get in there, but there's a lot of momentum going and they feel good and they're like, all right, let's go. Kind of like what happened with the Detroit Lions a couple years ago. I know Packers fans don't want to hear that. But then also the fact that it's not hard to imagine that a team like the Packers could have gotten to the playoffs and then they got beaten pretty good, or just they lost a close game. They're on the road against Dallas. You know, I mean, that's not out of the realm of the possibility. And you couldn't even really hate on the Packers. It's just all good. You know, it just is what it is. It's a process of growth. But no, they got to the playoffs. Massive check of experience. They demolished the Cowboys. Massive check of experience. And then they played competitively again on the road against the 49ers, a team that went to the Super Bowl that was also a play away from winning. You know that the 49ers are legit. They were not there accidentally. And they did almost win that Super Bowl, which that does mean something. And the Packers were right there. So it's not a far stretch to be like, you are right there. A few different decisions fall, you know, that you make, and also if the ball just lands in a different way, you could be there. And that matters. That matters just for their own confidence building, but also actual experience. And for those of you who don't know, each round of the playoffs, everything gets bigger and faster, especially even just media. The media room gets bigger. And if you listen to other ex-players talk about it, they talk about how it's kind of like jarring to a way, or you're like kind of caught off guard because like you enter the playoffs and wild card round, you're like, okay, this is bigger than regular season. And then you get to the next round and you're like, whoa, okay, this is bigger. And then the next, you know, every time you get to the next one, it's like so jarring. And even in the way how it happens in Super Bowls, you don't realize that a lot of players talk about like it's kind of uncomfortable because there's so much extra time in between timeouts and stuff because everything's milked out in the Super Bowl. And like as a player, you're just not used to it. And these are creatures of habits, right? Like this is just the way it goes. And so that experience is so much more layered than just this kind of generic, oh, they need experience, or, oh, well, you know, they've been in the playoffs and now they know. Like, it's a lot deeper than that. It's understanding the intensity of the moment, the pressure of the moment, the crowds, the media, you know, the type of questions that you're getting asked, even just certain little things like having friends reaching out to you saying, can you get me tickets? Like it goes through the roof. All things that these players need to learn how to manage. And fortunately, in their super young kind of first year together, so to speak, relatively speaking, they got to the playoffs, won a game, and were competing against the reigning NFC champion. That matters. To me, that matters tremendously. And that's why I'm so high on the Packers, because I really think that they're there. I think they're there. I don't know what will ultimately put them over, right? Does Jordan Love need an extra gear? Does Matt LaFleur really need to make sure that he does not get outcoached? You know, did boosting up their defense really help them? Like, it's going to be interesting to see like what pushes them over, because I do think that this is a top team in the NFL, but I do think that there's a lot of great teams right now in the NFL. So it's really going to be like, what's the difference between Jordan Love and the Packers and say the Detroit Lions and the 49ers? And I've said this in a previous video, is that to me, those teams can really compete with each other. And same thing with the coaches, relatively speaking. Obviously, Shanahan has a fair amount more experience, especially come time playoffs. But the difference maker, the potential, is Jordan Love. If Jordan Love can truly prove to be a top quarterback in the NFL, he will be the difference maker. He will be what gets over the hump. He will be what gets them to be able to beat Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, whoever, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, whatever it may be. Jordan Love has the potential to be the best quarterback out of all of them. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he will be. He just has that potential. And if he can put that together with the Matt LaFleur, because now you're talking about an elite offensive mind and an elite play caller, I mean, it could be a wrap, right? Like, you're just going to consistently put yourself in that position. So to me, if Jordan Love proves to be, this is kind of a guess, top 3 quarterback in the NFL, which again, as you guys know, I don't care for rankings very much as I put quarterbacks in tiers. But if he can be in that top 3 tier where people have to, anytime they're talking about the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and when you mention names, you have to say Jordan Love. If he can join that party, it's just like, how can you not believe in what the Packers are going to be able to do? I mean, it's just, they have the potential to just be so dominant, such a high-powered offense, not unlike the classical Kansas City Chiefs, but for like a long runway for like 2, 3, 4 years, and they're all coming up together. And it's just got such insane potential, and which is why I've said I feel like I kind of have to say this now in every Packers video that I do, especially when we're talking about the future, is that it's dynasty building. And to be clear, I'm not saying that they have a dynasty, but like, to me, that's what's at stake. There's some teams that the way they're designed, the way their coaching staff is going to be, and how they're going to lose coordinators if they do good or whatever it may be, I don't see a dynasty for them, no matter how good they are. But I see the way how the Packers are constructed, the way their coaches, the way their youth is, the way the contracts are. You're talking about dynasty. That is what's for reach. Not just a random Super Bowl within the next couple of years, like a true, legitimate, you win a Super Bowl and then you're going to be favored to win the next year, right? And it's just like, if health is on your side, then it's yours to lose. Like, to me, that's what's at stake. And it's just so exciting. It really, really is. Because I just feel like with the Packers being competitive, we got some juice back in the NFL, and just like another great, exciting young quarterback who now also has an exciting game to watch as well. It's just going to be really fun. And I'm really excited also, again, sorry Packers fans, but I'm excited for the Lions to be good and the Bears, because it's just going to make all those games just can't miss TV. And it's just such intense, passionate fan bases. And it's just going to make some of the most entertaining football around, honestly. So I really can't wait. And honestly, don't count out Minnesota Vikings, because I think they'll be not too far along, within the next couple of years or so. So I truly can't wait. I feel like I also say that in every video. I can't wait, because I honestly, genuinely can't wait. We're just so close to the season. We're about a month away, and the Packers are here. I really believe that they have arrived. Jordan Love has arrived, and it's going to get crazy. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think kind of agree with what Orlovsky was talking about, that it was more of like kind of mechanical that was kind of holding Jordan Love back, and now that that's kind of been resolved, he can really kind of be set up, and that there's actually kind of a whole nother gear for him, and that the Packers are this young team that's just ready to come full force? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.